Welcome back, coin collectors and treasure hunters. In this video, we're revealing some of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever released into circulation. These old coins might look ordinary, but they're worth thousands of dollars. First up, 1969 S. Lincoln Memorial Penny. The 1969 S. Lincoln Memorial Penny is a coin that sends waves of excitement through the numismatic community, not because of its mintage numbers or its metal content, but because it's home to one of the most famous and rarest double die errors in U.S. coinage history. While the average 1969 S penny may not seem remarkable, certain varieties of this coin can be worth a small fortune, literally transforming pocket. Change into a 5- or 6-figure treasure. Struck at the San Francisco Mint, the S mint mark is visible below the date on the obverse, a feature collectors were happy to see return after the U.S. Mint suspended mint marks from 1965 to 1967 to deter hoarding. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln's bust, designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse continues the Lincoln Memorial motif designed by Frank Gasparo, complete with its minuscule rendering of Lincoln's seated statue between the columns. The composition of the 1969 S penny remains the traditional bronze alloy of 95%, copper and 5% tin and zinc, which had been standard since 1864, until it was replaced in 1982. These copper pennies are now often hoarded for their metal content, though melting them remains illegal. Now let's get to what really matters. The 1969 S Double Die Obverse, DDO. This variety is legendary. On this error, the entire date, the word liberty, and in God we trust exhibit dramatic and unmistakable doubling. It is one of the clearest and boldest double dies ever discovered, and the fact that it occurred on a lowly 1-cent coin only adds to its mystique. Only a few dozen genuine examples are known to exist. Many fakes have been created over the years by altering regular 1969 S cents, but legitimate specimens have been authenticated and graded by third-party services, like PCGS and NGC. Regular 1969 S pennies are extremely common. Over 544 million were minted. These coins are frequently found in rolls, bags, and even circulation today. However, they become interesting to collectors in mint state red grades, especially MS66 and higher, and of course, when accompanied by major errors like the DDO, market value of the 1969 S Lincoln Memorial Penny. As of 2025, regular circulated 0.02 to 0.10 due to copper value. MS65 RD, $10 to $20. MS66 RD, $50 to $100. MS67 RD, $300 to $500 plus. Double die obverse FS101. XF grades $20,000 to $35,000. AU grades $40,000 to $60,000. MS63 RD, $75,000 to $120,000 plus. Finest known MS65 plus RD, up to $250,000 or more at auction. Number 2, 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny holds a special place in American coinage, not because of its design innovation, but because it marked the final year of the beloved wheat, year reverse that had graced the penny since 1909. It was a year of transition, a quiet farewell to a design that had become part of everyday American life for nearly 5 decades. On the obverse is the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln by Victor David Brenner, complete with the date and the word liberty, along with the motto, "In God We Trust." The reverse, though soon to be retired, features 2 stylized wheat stalks curving around the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America, with a pluribus unum above. It's simple, elegant, and instantly recognizable to generations of Americans. The 1958 Lincoln cent was struck in massive numbers, over 252 million at the Philadelphia Mint. There were no Denver or San Francisco versions for circulation that year, making this a one-mint issue for the final wheat design. While common in circulated condition, the coin's importance lies in its historical place as the last of its kind. What's truly special about the 1958 penny, however, is the extremely rare 1958 double die obverse variety. Only 3 known authentic specimens exist, and they display bold doubling on liberty, the motto and the date. It is one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cent varieties ever discovered, and it remained unknown to the wider public until decades after it was struck. For collectors, a high-grade 1958 wheat cent in red condition is still a desirable piece. In MS66 or MS67, it can hold decent value due to its beauty and final year status. Though common, roll-fresh examples are now much harder to find, as most were released into circulation or stored in suboptimal conditions over the decades. Market value of the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny as of 2025. Circulated 0.10 to 0.25, MS65RD, $1,000 to $1,500. MS66RD, $3,000 to $6,000. MS67RD, $2,500 to $40,000. 1958 double die obverse. If authentic, $200,000 to $1,000 plus. Only 3 known specimens in private hands. Number 3, 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a quiet classic. Not particularly flashy or rare in sheer mintage, but when it comes to finding one in high grade, condition, or in its scarcer varieties, this coin quickly becomes a standout from the Roaring Twenties. It is one of the coins that represents the continuation of Brenner's wheat design during the golden era of American coinage, when artistry, quality, and production were hitting a stride between 2 world wars. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint with a total mintage of 157 million, the 1926 penny contains the usual bronze composition of 95%, copper and 5% tin and zinc. The obverse carries Victor David Brenner's famous Lincoln portrait, a design that had become so iconic that it went unchanged for over a century. On the reverse are the beautiful wheat ears that symbolize agricultural prosperity, flanking the denomination and the words United States of America. Although the coin was widely circulated and is common in lower grades, things change significantly when you search for high-grade examples, particularly with full original red surfaces. Due to poor storage, wear, and circulation, most 1926 pennies appear brown or dark red, true mint state red. Examples are far scarcer than one might think and are highly sought after by registry collectors. Additionally, there is the 1926D and 1926S mint issues, both far scarcer in high grades than the Philadelphia version. However, even the 1926P can surprise collectors when found in pristine condition with original mint luster. For error hunters, 1926 doesn't offer many dramatic varieties, though minor die cracks, repunch dates, and lamination errors have been reported. The real focus remains on grade and eye appeal. Market value of the 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny as of 2025. Circulated 0.25 to 150. Fine, F12. $200 to $400. MS63BN, $2,000 to $3,500. MS65RB, $6,000 to $12,000. MS65RD, $2,500 to $4,500. MS66RD, $9,000 to $15,000 plus. Rare and red with strong strike. Number 4, 1909 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1909 Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than just a coin. It's a piece of American heritage. This was the first year that the U.S. Mint issued a coin with the image of a real person, Abraham Lincoln. Breaking a long-standing tradition of using allegorical figures like Lady Liberty, the coin was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it instantly became an icon. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse was both dignified and personal, capturing the essence of the 16th president. The reverse features the famous wheat ears design, symbolizing abundance and unity. The coin's initial run caused quite a stir, not because of the design itself, but because of the designer's initials. In the earliest 1909 issues, Brenner's initials VDB appeared boldly at the bottom center of the reverse between the wheat stalks. Some felt this was too prominent, even inappropriate, and the initials were quickly removed. Thus, the 1909 VDB and 1909S VDB pennies became instant rarities. The 1909S VDB is especially legendary, with only 484,000 ever minted, making it one of the most coveted coins in the Lincoln cent series. In contrast, the 1909 No VDB coin was produced in large quantities, over 72 million pieces, making it relatively common in lower grades. But again, finding a high-grade red specimen or a rare variety version can significantly raise its value. Collectors hunt not only for the VDB varieties, but also for fine differences in strike, luster, and preservation. Even minor differences between red and red-brown surfaces can mean the difference between a $50 coin and a $500 coin. Market value of the 1909 Lincoln Wheat Penny as of 2025. 1909 No VDB circulated $1 to $5. MS63RB, $40 to $60. MS65RD, $100 to $180. 1909 VDB. Circulated $400 to $1,000. MS65RD, $15,000 to $3,000. 1909S no VDB. Circulated $8,000 to $13,000. MS65RD, $1,000 to $2,000. 1909S VDB. Good. G4, $7,500 to $12,000. Fine, F12, $18,000 to $3,000. MS63RD, $4,500 to $6,500. MS65RD, $25,000 to $50,000 plus. Number 5, 1965 Lincoln Memorial Penny. The 1965 Lincoln Memorial Penny is a humble copper coin with a remarkable story behind it. One that reflects a turbulent economic era in American history, and a strategic shift in how U.S. coins were minted, distributed, and perceived by the public. It may look simple at a glance, but this little coin was born during a major coinage crisis that affected all denominations in circulation. During the early 1960s, the United States faced a widespread coin shortage. Citizens began hoarding coins, especially those containing silver, as the value of silver bullion started climbing due to rising industrial demand and inflationary concerns. By 1964, silver coins were vanishing from circulation, not due to any official recall, but because people realized the silver in the coins could be worth more than the face value. To address the problem, the U.S. Mint implemented several emergency measures. Among the most notable was the temporary removal of mint marks from all circulating coins starting in 1965. This included the penny. So if you come across a 1965 Lincoln Memorial penny, you'll notice it doesn't feature a D or an S mint mark. Whether it was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, the coin looks the same. The reasoning behind this was simple. The mint hoped that if coins looked identical, collectors and the general public wouldn't hoard them in mass quantities based on mint origin. Despite these changes, the 1965 Lincoln penny maintained its traditional composition, a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The size, weight, and design were unchanged. Victor David Brenner's classic bust of Abraham Lincoln remained on the obverse, while the reverse still featured Frank Gaspero's depiction of the Lincoln Memorial. This design had only been in use for 6 years at that point, having replaced the beloved Whittier's reverse in 1959, over $149 billion. Lincoln Memorial pennies were struck in 1965, making it one of the most common cents of the decade. But not all 1965 pennies are created equal. For example, those from Special Mint Sets SMS, created from 1965 to 1967 as substitutes for proof sets, display superior strike quality, satin finishes, and often better preservation. These coins were sold to collectors directly from the mint, and their finishes make them especially attractive in high grades. Collectors also keep an eye out for 1965 penny errors, including double die obverses, off-center strikes, die cracks, and more. Such error coins are relatively rare. Market value of the 1965 Lincoln Memorial penny, as of 2025. Circulated condition 0.02 to 0.05 due to copper content. MS65 red, regular business strike, $80 to $120. MS66 red, $3,000 to $5,000. MS67 red, $15,000 to $22,500. SMS SP66 to SP67, $1,000 to $4,000. SMS SP68 RD, $15,000 to $25,000. Notable error coins like double die or off-center, $2,000 to $3,000 plus, depending on rarity and severity. Number 6, 1960 Lincoln Memorial penny. The 1960 Lincoln Memorial penny is a fascinating coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Not because it is rare in quantity, but because of a subtle variety that turns this seemingly ordinary coin into a prized collectible. That variety is the now famous small date versus large date difference, which can lead to substantial value differences even within the same mint. As with all Lincoln cents from 1959 onward, the obverse shows Abraham Lincoln's profile, while the reverse depicts the Lincoln Memorial, a design that celebrates the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse was created by Frank Gaspero and contains one of the smallest design details in U.S. coinage history, a tiny depiction of Lincoln's seated statue, visible between the memorial columns. Now let's dive into what really makes the 1960 penny stand out: the small date and large date varieties. These are variations in the font size and numeral shape of the date on the coin. The large date version has bold, rounded numbers with wider spacing. The small date version has thinner, more compact numerals with a higher. So this change occurred at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. While both date types exist for both locations, it's the Philadelphia small date that is significantly scarcer, especially in high mint state or proof grades. The small date, large date difference arose from changes in die design during the production year. Multiple hubs were used, each with slightly different number punches. No one realized at the time that these differences would someday become an important collector focus. But once the numismatic community caught on, the 1960 cent became the subject of widespread searching and cataloging. Proof versions were also minted in 1960, over 1.6 million in total. And some of these were struck with the small date variety. A 1960 proof small date, cent in pristine condition, can be significantly more valuable than its large date counterpart. Error coins are also known in 1960, particularly repunched mint marks (RPMs) on Denver minted coins. Some of these show very noticeable doubling of the D mint mark and are quite collectible. You may also find minor doubled dies and die cracks, though they tend to be more subtle. With over 2.7 billion pennies struck across both mints in 1960, this coin is far from rare. But its varieties, and the challenge of identifying them, make it a beloved issue among Lincoln cent specialists. Market value of the 1960 Lincoln Memorial Penny as of 2025. Circulated condition, large date, 002 to 005. MS65 red large date, $50 to $100. MS65 red small date, Philadelphia, $2,000 to $3,500. MS66 red small date, $7,000 to $12,000. Proof small date PR67 RD, $9,000 to $15,000. PR68 RD small date up to $13,000 or more. RPM error, edgy, DD, $2,500 to $22,000, depending on visibility and grade. Number 7. 1966 Lincoln Memorial Penny. The 1966 Lincoln Memorial Penny may not get as much immediate attention as some of its siblings, but it plays a key role in a transformative period in U.S. mint history, one defined by strategic decisions to stabilize coin production and curb nationwide hoarding habits. Born during the peak of the silver coin shortage era, the 1966 penny is a classic example of how even a common coin can carry extraordinary historical weight. The most noticeable characteristic of the 1966 Lincoln cent is that, like its 1965 and 1967 counterparts, it was struck without a mint mark. That was a deliberate move by the mint. Between 1965 and 1967, the U.S. Mint removed all mint marks from coins to discourage people from collecting based on mint origin. This decision was part of a larger effort to restore normalcy to coin circulation after the silver crisis. The design remained consistent with other Lincoln Memorial pennies of the time. Victor David Brenner's time-tested bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and Frank Gasparo's detailed Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The coin retained its bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a metal formula that would eventually change in 1982 due to rising copper costs. While the total mintage of the 1966 Lincoln penny exceeded 2.18 billion coins, there are still some numismatic gems hiding within this enormous population, namely high-grade business strikes and coins from the special mint set SMS issued for collectors. The SMS coins of 1966 have a distinct look, sharper details, a satin finish, and fewer abrasions. They're not quite proof coins, but they're far superior to the coins released for general circulation. Collectors should also keep their eyes open for error coins from this year. While less documented than in other years, errors like off-center strikes, die clashes, and occasional doubling can still be found. These errors are often underappreciated, but can fetch significant premiums when authenticated and well preserved. And let's not forget the coin's melt value. With 95% copper content, the 1966 penny is often worth more than face value based on metal content alone, though melting pennies remains illegal in the United States. Nevertheless, copper collectors frequently sort and save these coins for their long-term potential. Market value of the 1966 Lincoln Memorial Penny as of 2025. Circulated condition 0.02 to 0.05 based on copper. MS65 red, $80 to $150. S66 red, $2,500 to $4,000. MS67 red, $2,500 to $2,000 plus. SMS SP66 RD, $100 to $250. SMS SP67 RD, $4,000 to $7,500. SMS SP68 RD, $17,500 to $23,500. Errors, e.g. off-center. Decracks, $25,000 to $27,000 plus depending on severity. Number 8. 2000D Lincoln Memorial Penny. The 2000D Lincoln Memorial penny may appear like a modern coin that you'd find in spare change, but it's actually one of the final chapters in the long-running Lincoln Memorial series. And it's also a piece of the evolving story of modern minting technology and minor varieties that have attracted collectors for decades. While it's often overlooked by casual collectors, the 2000D penny holds more intrigue than meets the eye, particularly for those who are fascinated by transitional minting quirks, die varieties, and high-grade submissions. Struck at the Denver Mint as signified by the D mint mark on the 2000D. Lincoln cent was minted in massive numbers. Over 8.8 billion coins were produced that year. It features the classic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. Even after more than 90 years in use, Brenner's design had endured as one of the most iconic and longest-running portraits in U.S. coinage history. The reverse still bore the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo. Look closely between the columns of the memorial, and you'll spot a tiny but sharp rendering of the seated Lincoln statue, an artistic flourish that often goes unnoticed unless studied under magnification. The 2000D penny was part of the final few years of this design, as the Lincoln Memorial reverse would be retired in 2008, to make way for the bicentennial designs in 2009, and then the permanent shield reverse starting in 2010. The coin's composition is zinc-based, specifically 97.5% zinc with a 2.5% copper plating. This change was first implemented in 1982 when the mint transitioned away from the traditional 95% copper alloy due to rising copper prices. Since then, all Lincoln cents have been copper-plated zinc coins. And while this has saved the mint money, it has also introduced new issues, such as blistering, corrosion, and even zinc rot in some poorly stored coins. Collectors of the 2000D penny primarily focus on high-grade mint state, examples, and any rare errors or varieties. Among the most notable is the 2000D wide AM reverse variety, a known error where there is a wider than normal spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse. Normally, the 2000D penny should have the close AM variety, where the letters are nearly touching. However, a few coins were struck with a reverse intended for proof coinage, creating this rare wide AM variety. It's very scarce and has become a hot target among variety specialists. Market value of the 2000D Lincoln Memorial Penny. As of 2025. Circulated. Face value to 0.5. MS65 RD, $50 to $80. MS66 RD, $1,200 to $2,500. MS67 RD, $40.50 to $70.50. MS68 RD, $12,000 to $3,500 plus, very rare. 2000D wide AM variety, $25,000 to $28,000, depending on grade, extremely rare. Number 9. 1946D Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1946D Lincoln Wheat penny carries the legacy of a post-war America, a coin that was minted during a time of transition, healing, and prosperity after the conclusion of World War II. While at first glance it may seem like just another wheat cent from the 1940s, this coin reflects both historical significance and subtle details that still attract collectors, almost 80 years later. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's enduring bust of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse carries the familiar twin stalks of wheat encircling the words 1 cent and United States of America. The motto E pluribus unum arches above, with liberty and the year of issue on the obverse. This classic wheat design was the hallmark of American pennies until 1959, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse. The 1946D penny was struck at the Denver Mint and proudly displays the D mint mark below the date. It was part of the first full year of coinage after the end of WW2. A year marked by booming industrial growth, a return to civilian life for millions of soldiers, and a renewed sense of national optimism. Coin production returned to full force as metals that had previously been redirected for the war effort were now available once more. Interestingly, just 3 years earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had struck Lincoln cents in zinc-coated steel to save copper for wartime manufacturing. That experiment was short-lived, and by 1944, the Mint resumed using a bronze alloy of 95%, copper and 5% tin and zinc. This alloy continued through 1946, giving the coin its rich reddish-brown hue when freshly struck. With over 315 million 1946 D pennies minted, it is far from rare in circulated grades. However, what makes this coin exciting for collectors is the chance to find mint state red. Examples are coins with striking die varieties. These include repunched mint marks, RPMs, a common issue in 1940s Denver coinage, where the D mint mark appears doubled, sometimes quite visibly. These varieties are highly collectible and well documented by specialists. A well-struck 1946 D penny with full red coloration and minimal contact marks can be a gem in any collection. But finding an MS67 red or higher example is a true challenge, as most cents from this era entered circulation quickly and were not preserved in rolls or mint bags. Market value of the 1946 D Lincoln wheat penny, as of 2025, circulated 0 at 10 to 0 at 25, MS63 brown, $300 to $600. MS65 red brown, $8,000 to $12,000. MS65 red, $12,000 to $3,500. M66 red, $17,500 to $18,500. MS67 red, $24,000 to $26,000 plus, very scarce. PM varieties, e.g. S501, $25,000 to $3,000, depending on clarity and grade. Number 10, 1983 Lincoln Memorial Penny. The 1983 Lincoln Memorial penny is one of the most significant modern Lincoln cents, not because of its design, but because it comes at a critical turning point in U.S. coin production. The transition to zinc-based planchets and the emergence of one of the most famous error coins in modern numismatics, the 1983 double die reverse. By 1983, the U.S. Mint had fully completed its shift from traditional bronze coins to a copper-plated zinc alloy due to the ever-rising cost of copper. These new pennies consist of a 97.5% zinc core with a thin 2.5% layer of copper plating. Although introduced in 1982, the change was still relatively new and introduced a range of problems, including weak strikes, uneven plating, and planchet blistering. The obverse still featured Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse retained the Frank Gasparo-designed Lincoln Memorial, which had been in place since 1959. On well-struck coins, you can still make out the miniature Lincoln statue between the central columns, a tiny but remarkable detail. Now, what makes the 1983 Lincoln cent truly stand out is the presence of a major double die reverse, DDR, one of the most well-known and valuable modern errors. This error shows clear and prominent doubling on the reverse lettering, especially in the words 1 cent and United States of America. It is not a minor or machine doubling issue. This is true hub doubling, visible to the naked eye. Because it occurred early in the production cycle, it has become a top target for collectors of Lincoln varieties. Another point of interest is the search for 1983 copper cents, which technically shouldn't exist. Since 1983, cents were supposed to be entirely struck on zinc planchets, any coin found with a weight of around 3.1 grams indicating a copper alloy planchet may be an extremely rare transitional error. A leftover bronze blank from 1982, where only a handful of confirmed examples exist, and they are extremely valuable. Collectors should also be cautious. When collecting 1983 cents in higher grades, zinc cents are notoriously fragile and prone to developing bubbles, streaks, and surface flaws. A pristine MS67 red example is rare, and certified pieces in this grade are especially prized. Market value of the 1983 Lincoln Memorial Penny, as of 2025, circulated face value to 0.02, MS65 RD, $500 to $1,000, MS66 RD, $15,000 to $25,000, MS67 RD, $25,000 to $32,000 plus, scarce. 1983 double die reverse, FS801, $2,000, to $26,000 in XF to AU, $35,000 to $45,000 in MS65 plus RD, 83 bronze transitional error, if confirmed, 10,000 to Tubal to ICU Wayne please, depending on grade and weight. And there you have it, from hidden varieties to legendary doubled dyes, even the most ordinary looking Lincoln. Cents can turn out to be extraordinary treasures. So before you spend that penny, take a closer look and it might just change your life. Thanks for watching, Anna, and happy collecting.